Hello and welcome back to another 10-minute investor eye test with Arcanum Ventures. I'm Carmelo and this is my good friend and colleague Sasha. And today we will be looking at Hyperlane. It's an open interoperability framework to connect anywhere on chain, whatever that means. It sounds really cool, but we got to dig a little bit deeper and figure it out. Sasha, you know anything about Hyperlane? Because this is the first I've heard about it.
I don't know anything about Hyperlane. I love this catchphrase, connect anywhere on chain. Like these are big words. I wonder what that actually means.
Yeah, I think there's some stuff I just would prefer not to connect to on chain. Some seedy stuff happening that I would like to keep separate from on chain activity. So,
But
yeah, I guess we'll dive in. This is, it might not be the most interesting one. It's a little bit technical, which is personally interesting for me and maybe you too. But I
yeah,
know
yeah.
people like the degen stuff a little bit more. It's a little bit more buzzwordy and catchy for the current narratives that's happening in blockchain. So I guess we'll dive in and check out what we're looking at today.
Yeah, and for those of you that are unfamiliar with this concept, we take 10 short minutes on diving into Hyperlane and understanding if this is something that we would consider investing in. Thumbs up for, two thumbs up technically for yes, I'm going to ape right in. All the way down to thumbs down. I've seen too many red flags. This is not for me. But yeah, make sure you stick around till the end where we give our verdicts. And without any more hesitance, we've got 10 minutes on the clock for Hyperlane starting right meow. Okay. And so we've got crypto rank up right now. And this is the ICO page for Hyperlane. And it looks like, the ICO, I guess, happened last week. They should be having a token launch soon, but we want to talk about some of these backers. Look at these logos, man.
Yeah,
Woo!
that's the first thing that pops out. Circles backing them, Coin Fund, Kraken, Figment, Block Damon, NFX, and Galaxy Ventures. So they got pretty much exclusively impressive investors on their cap table, and they raised 18.5 million, probably more after all said and done. But that's still like a modest amount compared to some of the ones we're seeing lately. So it's
Yeah,
a it's still a
absolutely.
lot of money too. Like I saw a post the other day from somebody on Twitter saying there's no reason to ever raise more than $10 million for a blockchain company, and I was like, yeah, it's a good point. I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know why companies are over raising. The only thing I can think of is ecosystem grants if you're building a blockchain, but I don't think you need that much.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting point. It's definitely a blanket statement because many
Yeah, yeah.
blockchains have like they have different strategies when it comes to like tech development and research and whatever. But yeah, I mean they can't all get as lucky as Ethereum. They don't have that first mover advantage in like growing a massive treasury. I do want to point out crypto rank is ranking Kraken Ventures as tier 2. That's I don't know if Kraken Ventures is tier 2, guys. Like it's a pretty big name here, right?
Yeah, I don't know what the
But
logic is.
I'm not sure, but yeah, again, Hyperlane is an interoperability layer built for the modular blockchain stack. And let's take a look at some numbers. Nothing on token supply, so we don't really know what like the valuation is, but apparently they're planning
So
on raising, or
four
they're
more
raised
million.
4 more million ICO, so 22 and a half total. But yeah, let's take a look at the website and see what this is all about. I like this branding. It's interesting.
I don't like it.
What do you see
How
then?
many how many like how many astronauts do we need in crypto? How many spacemen do we need? Like I get it. I feel like I'm getting hit over the head with the same branding over and over again. I mean,
You
it's
gotta
clean.
hate on
Like I'll give them that.
space.
It's like everybody's a rocket man. Everybody's going to the moon. I get it. Like do something original.
All right, you should have gone the bear chain route, guys.
Yeah, yeah. Do Bear Chain at least creative and weird, and it's out there and it's original.
So weird, so
No
weird.
astronauts. No,
But
not to
yeah,
hate on them. It looks clean and nice, and I always notice the calls to action first, and it says start building or build it for me. So that's interesting. Build it for me is maybe the out of the box solution. Like I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Maybe I'm a Web 2 person. Can you help me out? I don't know what I'm doing. Google form
Interesting. It's a Google form.
could be better, but like still interesting. I wonder what start building is like for the real builders, for the people that actually know what they're doing. So at least that's the main two calls to action. Like build something, whether it's
Yeah.
on your own or with us. So we got GitHub, sorry, for the documentation.
Oh well, Gitbook, yeah, but it's just documentation for builders, right? And so they've got
Yep.
information about like the infrastructure, how to deploy onto the network, how to deploy a token or bridge a token. So that's good, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice. Like it appeals to anybody that wants to link to what they're building. I see like agent operators above, so I'm wondering if they're focusing on the AI agents too.
Where do you see that? Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what they mean by it, but
Interesting. But yeah, it's the first mention of agents we've seen, and we don't know if they're AI
oh no, I
agents.
don't think it's AI agents. Maybe it's just
No.
validators.
Yeah, but going back to the main site, they've got 100 plus chains connected. And keep in mind, we still don't know really what Hyperlane is, right? Maybe it's like a bridging solution. Maybe it's like some back end infrastructure that just allows transactions or even messaging or communication across chains and protocols on chains. But they've got 100 plus chains connected. I didn't even know there was like 100 plus
Oh
major
yeah,
blockchains.
yeah. There's a
5
lot of weird
billion,
ones.
5 billion value bridged. Like, does
Yeah,
that,
but these
are they just counting the TVL across every chain?
I mean, this is a good lesson for any viewer out there. Like, can't you, you can't take these at face value, and it's so hard to prove or disprove these things. So you can notice and
Mhm.
be like, all right, they feel confident enough to put this on here, so there must be some truth to it. But you can't trust it 100%. You got to like try to figure out if that's true. And it says 5 virtual machines, which is cool. They can connect to Ton, they can connect to Sui,
Mm.
Solana. So it's cool. Like I'm all for interoperability and interconnectivity between these ecosystems because it's still pretty fragmented.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we're talking about like perfect interoperability, the only thing that really exists is like the ease of use that centralized exchanges provide. So, like, we haven't seen a whole lot of like permissionless or decentralized infrastructure that's solved that problem yet. We know there's some okay bridges out there, but I always have like a minor heart attack when I send funds across a bridge. Still.
Yeah, I don't do it often, but you're right. Like it was never a nice experience before, and I think it's gotten a lot smoother. Like even in Phantom Wallet, you can change between chains now really easily. But there it says smooth bridging with warp routes. Connect any token with no slippage bridging that's affordable and fast. So it's an
Hmm.
interesting value prop.
Yeah. Own your interop. Generate yield and set slash subsidized fees on the bridging volume you relay. No
Yeah.
lock in with an entirely open source stack. So I wonder, like, what does it look like from the liquidity perspective? Because that's always been a challenge when it comes to bridging, is providing the liquidity necessary to push transactions through smoothly from, like you said, Ton blockchain to BNB chain or Binance, yeah, BNB chain. It's called now.
I think that's it. They want to incentivize people to supply liquidity. It's almost like the way a DEX works, like liquidity pools on a DEX, but now they're just doing this between chains so that they can more effectively connect. I mean, I think that's always been the way they've done it. I don't know if they're doing something different than that, but
I guess they're referring to these avenues like connecting between chains or bridges, individual bridges between chains as warp routes. But they did say something I caught before. It said connect or deploy your chain once, and then you are connected to every other chain. I mean, that's like neither a feature nor a bug. Like that's just how this infrastructure works. It's
yeah,
like advertising like, buy a car now with rolling wheels. Like that's just how they work, right? You connect to the infrastructure and it's got that level of interoperability inherently from like any other bridge that's already connected.
not necessarily. I mean, some bridges they might just connect with one other chain. Like I deliberately only want a bridge between these two ecosystems because that's where my asset lives. But it's a good value prop to have the access to all these other chains and virtual machines as well. And then we're seeing some big middle layers launching, which are very necessary to grow the space and make it more usable. But we haven't seen a clear cut front runner or the king of the hill so far. So think like Layer Zero is one interesting one that's
Mhm.
probably doing something similar. And yeah, these have classically been really huge attack vectors too. So you also have like a lot of fraud or fraudulent activities or hacks that can happen in this weird process between chains. You know, one simple mistake can dismantle an asset. So that's one thing I would worry about with something like this. Like I would have to have more assurances that it's secure. And I don't know enough about the tech to trust that so easily either. I would have to ask like several people.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're just simply not seeing a whole lot about the tech here. I do want to say like
And
this
the
the
token,
website's
like
got like some, I don't know if you're seeing this, but there's like some Bethesda level of like glitches going on here. Like this is really freaking me out. Where are the links at the bottom? They're not even showing up anymore.
exactly. That's why you need to trust the infrastructure before you use it. But I think
Guys,
you and I can both agree that this is like obviously just based on what we've seen, it's useful. There's a need for this, but I'm wondering how they monetize it and how they justify the token. Like always, what do they? What is this token going to do? Why would I invest in it? How am I going to get a cut of the economic activity? That $5 billion that's been bridged, am I going to get any part of that value back if I or do you have to supply liquidity for these warp routes to earn?
it's a very good question. We haven't seen anything explicitly explaining what the token is or what it does, which is maybe the most critical part of a decentralized interoperability infrastructure play, because the token is most likely going to be involved in incentivizing, like you said, liquidity provisioning and getting people involved in crowdsourcing the smooth operation of the bridging. We haven't seen anything about that yet, and so I'm wondering, like, they've got an upcoming token launch, but there's our 10 minutes, unfortunately. But do people know what they're buying yet? And
And who is this
frankly,
for?
the
Is it for the exchanges? Like, because that's one thing. If you're offering like a bridge for big institutional players versus small retail people that just want to bridge $50. So that I'm not really clear on that. Like, it's very builder oriented, which is abundantly clear in the front page. It's not very newbie beginner friendly.
Yeah, not at all. And there's really no mention in this technical documentation at all around their token.
Yep.
So I don't know what the ICO is for. I don't know what their token does. That's not a great approach to launching a token or trying to sell a token with an ICO, guys. But there's our 10 minutes on Hyperlane. And before we go into verdicts, I want to remind everyone, make sure you tap that like button if you like this content, you like our quirky and weird opinions, and stick around, throw us a subscribe or follow, because we've got some more fun content coming very soon. And Carmela, would you like to go first? Would you like me to go first on the verdict?
You can go first this time. I think I went last time first.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to give it one thumb sideways. And that means that I definitely would not consider investing into Hyperlane, at least the token right now, but I would definitely consider looking more into it. I have a really big personal fascination when it comes to decentralized interoperability systems. I think this is like the holy grail. This is maybe the most vulnerable aspect when it comes to like security or hacks within the world of Web3 and crypto, for good reason, because there's so much liquidity on these interoperability systems that is just like ripe for the hacking. But creating a efficient and safe bridge is directly conflicting against like the business model of centralized exchanges. And so if we could figure out how to bridge assets cheaply and quickly, then that's going to take more onus away from like needing a centralized exchange. And I don't think it's any secret by now that I'm not a huge fan of centralized exchanges, their lack of transparency and regulation, and all the
Mhm.
sketchy things that they've been doing. So like I'm rooting for this. I'm rooting for some good interoperability system, some bridging technology to be a front runner and like solve this problem of like cheap and instant transactions. So I hope they do well, but like right now I have no idea what the token does. I don't know if the token's even necessary. There's a lot of bridging solutions out there that don't have a token at all.
Yep.
So why would I buy a token for like something to create a, what is it, warp drive or whatever the hell they called it. I don't know.
Warp root.
But warp root, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my take on it so far. What about you?
Almost exactly the same thing. One thumb sideways, because yeah, I don't know what I would be investing in, so I'm not even going to pretend to say yes. I mean, not that I would be saying yes to investing in it, but I would be saying I might be interested. I'm going to look deeper. So the thumb sideways reflects like you. I would want to learn more about this because I have an interest in these kinds of technologies, and the reason I wanted to get into this space in the first place is, the ethos behind it. And you're absolutely right. I would love to cut out the middleman, the black box transparency, the lack of transparency, sorry, for exchanges. I would like people to have like an easy and efficient and approachable way to bridge to different ecosystems, to have access and own their own assets. And we're not like really seeing that still yet in 2025. So I am also rooting for these guys. I don't know anything about them. I know that there's other competitions out there, or competitors, but I don't know. I'm rooting for them all to succeed because I think what they're doing is important. But yeah, the lack of mention of any digital asset is a little bit worrying. So they must not think it's that important to describe what it is, which is interesting because I feel like we're seeing that more often lately. They're kind of just riding on the fact that, oh, people have heard of us and they know that we got big backers, we raised a bunch of money. That's all they need to know. Either invest or don't. Do you believe in what we're doing and the traction we're accomplishing? We have $42 million in our coffer, or no, sorry, 24 million, something like that. We have huge backers like Circle and Kraken, so clearly we're doing something right. And to your point, like, this is being backed by some exchanges too. So I don't know if it's going to be the exchange killer you think it is. I think it might just be helping
That's a good point.
these institutions. Like Kraken's going to be using this for their ink chain next year when they launch that. So I think, yeah, I wouldn't invest. I do want to learn more about it offline in my own time because I want to see who emerges as like the king of interoperability. There's still it's still to be determined. So we'll see. Best of luck to the Hyperlane team with their launch. I think they actually might have already launched, but best of luck anyways. And yeah, thank you for joining us for another 10-minute investor eye test. And as Sasha said, please check out our other videos. Give us a like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell us why we're wrong in the comments. Tell us what projects you would like to see next. And yeah, see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Ciao, y'all.